I found that with guys who managed to get themselves finally booked at a legacy club or something like that, like the factory where I worked, and they finally got passed. They finally got booked by the booker there, and then they come up to me 6 weeks later, and they're like, "Well, this sucks. I finally got booked here, and I'm not getting any booking now." And I said, "Oh no, you're just in a different. Now we're in a different playing field. Now you're competing with 500 people who've been passed, and
100%.
they all want a spot. They're all competing for 27 spots a week,
That was,
and now
yeah.
yeah, you have you experienced something that kind of
So
high and
that
low, so to speak?
So I mean, you were there. Dan was there. I used to
Yeah.
chase the open mics, and I don't know, maybe to this day, I don't know if I said the number's been beaten yet, but 11 time called back Saturday night winner at the Laugh
I was
Factory.
there. I hosted those mics.
Yeah, man. So here's where my growth came from. At the time, I was thinking like, oh man, and a little bit came from you, Dan. Like you were giving us the historic lore of the winners in the past and things like that. And this guy did it, knocked it out, boom, boom, boom. And then you see him on this show, or someone else said, oh my God, so if you do this, this will happen. So I was like deer in the headlights excited. So I was just like, I do that. And this is where the growth comes from, like learning like that was that guy's path. That's not your path. Like you can't
Yeah.
duplicate somebody else's journey. That's the one thing about stand up. Nobody has the exact same path. So even when I started winning those sets and like things like that, I was so fixed on thinking like, oh, well, after this, I'll get this spot, and then I'll see my name in lights. And like I was just jumping ahead for no reason. But what ended up happening is right that I kept getting better and sharper and being creative on the spot because I was having to write new jokes or because when you win a couple times, people know who you are and know your jokes that won. So you can't do that joke
I think
again, right? So it helped me be creative in that spot.
I think it also gave you an increased accessibility to that environment as well, which I know must have helped with the Tony gig and things like that moving forward because you put you in that circle
So that is
where
what I
you could
realized.
communicate with those guys.
I just told Tony this like a week ago. I said, man, it's ironic that back at the time I thought the goal was this, but in reality, the benefit was the two things that happened from coming to these mics every week, which I created a comedy festival because one night I won Saturday night, guy in the back of the room. Well, I don't even think he performed. He was just like, I wanted to try it, but I watched you and you're really good. Man, I got this big building. If you ever want to use it for comedy, let me know. And I was like,
Right.
let's do a festival then. He was like, I'll do it. Let's do it. And so I ended up creating the LA Comedy Festival from it. And that was like in 2022. And I was like, oh my gosh, can it just happen? Right. And then I did it again last year, um, at the Ice House. Right. And so something that just for me doing those sets created the opportunity for me to unite comedians all across the country. And I
Right.
shrink their world. And there are people right now who are friends comedy wise. They do shows together and they met at the festival or there are comics who won the comedy competition and got to meet the Booker Lonnie for Chocolate Sundays. Now they're on the Chocolate
Right.
Sunday show. And it was so many things that happened. I was like, that's so cool. And then from also winning, Tony Rock obviously hangs out the Laugh Factory all the time. And he overheard one of the comics saying, this guy wins like every week. And Tony was like, this guy pointing at me. And I was like, I've won a couple of times. And then the guy said, you won like 8. And I was like, well, it's false 11. So everybody started laughing. And, and Tony was like, well, I've never seen you perform. And I said, man, I got a little bit of change on me right now. I'll fly to whatever city you're headed to next. And if you give me a guest spot, I'll do it. And then we can get our answer there. And he was like, all right, well, I'm headed to this city. Book a ticket. I'll see you there. And I booked my ticket to Tacoma, Washington and opened up all 5 shows. And then, I mean, I guess you can say the rest is history. It went really well and started to come out on the road with them. And now that was a year and a half ago. So
Dude, I never knew that story before, man. That is bloody awesome, mate. That's chase and hustle right there. That is taking a
yeah,
chance and
the readiness, right?
and
Like just taking that, like, all
yeah,
right,
buy
I'll go.
that ain't a cheap ticket. Buying a ticket tomorrow to fly to Seattle. That's
Dude, yeah. You have to make your brain believe this will work out, though, right? You don't want to be the guy that said he didn't go, right? I don't got to buy groceries at Ralph's this week. I can go to like Shoppers Food for Less. Can you eat McDonald's dollar menu for like 2 more weeks, but I can go to Seattle though, right? And so there were some decisions made in real time, but I think that was a perfect storm of you got this money. You should just buy the ticket or borrow this ticket money, but get ticket and go to the city, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen
Mate,
from there. And now looking back, it's like,
it's,
oh, I'm so glad I spent that ticket money, you know, because
yeah, man.
yeah, this has been pretty cool.
Turn a little bit of pressure into an opportunity, man. That's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Laugh Factory for having those weekly auditions, man. People think yeah. So refocus your goals. Just try to be good every week and try to win it every week, and you'll find yourself getting better in general.